Welcome everybody to Running Through the Jungle's NFL Playoff Divisional stream here. Here we go. Justin and I, we're back in town, back in action. We had a pretty good week last week. We ended up 4-2. 4-2. That was pretty good. You know, it wasn't bad. We had some stinkers that we picked up, but they won. And I just want to say something right now before we get it, because we're actually going to get into those wild card games before we get into the divisional games, because normally we're reviewing 16 games. Like the last couple weeks have been 16 games, and we've been reviewing all of them. This week we only have 4, so we're going to kind of give our review of last week's wild card games, those 6 games. But before we start, yeah, you guys see that I'm in a Seahawks jersey. This is my Jimmy Graham jersey. He was one of my favorite tight ends. Played for the Saints. Played for the Seahawks. I think he played for the Bears and the Packers.
He played for everybody.
He played for everybody. He came and played for Seattle, and I picked up his jersey. But anyways, Justin, happy Friday, bro. How you doing, man?
Yes, man. It's been a long week. And I just couldn't wait to get to this day because we got some fun things to talk about regarding the NFL playoffs, reviewing the wild card games, previewing the upcoming divisional games. The playoffs are my favorite time of the year, man. That's when everybody is projectly playing their best football. You see who the pretenders are, who their contenders are. You start to get an early shape of who you think is going to be the Super Bowl favorites coming out of these things. And honestly, it's the best atmosphere when it comes to playoffs in all of sports. That includes the NBA in their 7-game series, the NHL and the MLB in their 7-game series. It's something different when it comes to NFL playoffs, that it shows an incredible level of intensity where people just want to rise up and play their best effort. They play their best ball. Whereas like if it's like a 1 seed versus an 8 seed in the NBA playoffs, you're probably going to see maybe some players take it off, like take a day off early on, even though this is the playoffs and you don't think that that's going to happen. But man, shit happens all the time like that until you get to those game 6 and those game 7s where they're on the brink of elimination, and there's the effort that kicks in. But for the NFL, man, it's you win or go home.
One and done.
So I just couldn't wait to finally get to the point where with our Pick'em show that we're going to be talking about the NFL playoffs, and we got a fun review coming up for the wild card games.
Yeah. Yeah, like the way I look at it is this is the playoffs is where we see true greatness. It really is. Look at the past, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, we could look up all the greats, John Elway, Dan Marino. This is where it's in, we'll even say Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes, he had a flu game once, he came out there and he was nursing an ankle injury or whatever, high ankle sprain, wherever it was. And he goes out there and just balls out and wins football games, wins 3, what is it? Is it 3 Super Bowls he's won in his career so far?
For who?
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs? Patrick Mahomes won 3.
3, yeah. So, but like this is the playoffs is like when we actually see greatness. But anyways, let's get into it, Justin. Let's kind of do our, you know what? First, I want to tell you guys, thanks for coming to the show. Make sure you subscribe, you share with your friends. Pay, nice to see you out there, buddy. El Jefe's still here. He's still throwing the heat, but I'm not the reliever this time. I'm actually the starting pitcher for this show. Afton, welcome to the show. Appreciate you supporting us over here as well. But like I said, let's get into it. We have our wild card playoff review. And we're just going to go in order of the games that were played first. Bleacher has so all you guys know is I use Bleacher. But Bleacher has the early games on the bottom, so we're going to work our way up. First game up was the 12-5 Bears versus the 8-9 Panthers.
The first game, Rams and Panthers. Rams and Panthers were first.
Yeah, Rams and the Panthers were the first game. Rams won 34-31. That was a game that was kind of we knew what Matt Stafford was. For me, like I'm just going to give you my quick my quick synopsis on this. We know who Matt Stafford is. He is a true MVP this year, and he really showed it on that game. Panthers, they fought, they fought back, but the Rams and Stafford, they just, Matt Stafford did what Matt Stafford does. He's out there playing MVP football, and the Rams took it home 34-31, and they're playing in this divisional game. Justin, like I said, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on these games, but kind of want to give our insight. What did you see in this Rams game?
Man, this was one hell of a game to kick off wildcard weekend. When the spread came out, you thought that the Rams were going to just take the Panthers to the woodshed and dominate.
Right.
Even though the Panthers had won this game about a month earlier in Carolina, you saw this exact same matchup again in the wildcard round. And my first initial thought when I saw the Rams just go right down the field and score, I'm like, yeah, the Panthers are going to be in for a long day. This moment's going to get too big for them. And then they fought back, and they kept scoring. And then the lead changes in the fourth quarter was just incredible to watch. And I was like, what a hell of a way to kickstart NFL wildcard weekend. Usually when you got the first slate, the early game on a Saturday afternoon, you're the most uninteresting game between all of the NFL playoffs. But this game was absolutely living up to the expectations of what it meant to have a true playoff atmosphere there. Carolina, they were so fun to watch. But at the end of the day, this was the game that really symbolized why Matt Stafford is probably going to win the NFL MVP award. The dude was just clutch. He was just absolutely clutch in the end. And this game, honestly, in my opinion, should propel them to become one of the Super Bowl favorites in the conference. Because if they do propel themselves to get to the Super Bowl and Matt Stafford does win that MVP trophy, yes, you can further cement Matt Stafford's case to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Definitely. I 100% agree with you. Next one up, man, what a barn burner. The Packers versus the Bears. The Packers came into Soldier Field, and I thought it was over with. The Packers were beating the hell out of them, and it was just, I was like, there's no way that this Bears team's going to come back. But, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, Caleb Williams and the Bears have just, there's no quitting that team. So the Bears ended up winning 31-27 and took that dub right out of the Packers' hands. Caleb Williams stepped up. That rest of that offense and that defense stepped up. Man, it was an amazing game. Like, we had we had 5 great games during this playoff, and this Bears and this Packers game was phenomenal. Justin, what do you got to say?
Yeah, man, this was a game that made me nervous at first, and I thought it was going to be really tough to pick. Early on, I ultimately ended up obviously picking correctly and went with the Chicago Bears, but early on, man, I was just thinking to myself, man, if there was one team that the Bears probably didn't want to see in the playoffs in the first round, it was probably Green Bay.
Yeah.
But then the second half happened, and that's where the Bears defense really, I feel like that they're really the underrated story that doesn't get talked about. They practically turned into the 85 Bears in the second half. The Packers couldn't do a damn thing on offense at all up until the end of the game in the fourth quarter, to where you felt like that this is where the Bears defense is going to break down. Jordan Love was driving down the field, but once again, that defense stood tall for Chicago. Yes, Caleb Williams is going to get a lot of high praise with the 4th and 8 conversion. He throws that crazy ball down the seam to Rome Odunze for a catch over a couple of Packers' heads. That was a great play. And that was a clutch moment, because at the end of the day, Caleb Williams is rising up and becoming a star as being the face of the franchise. And he made the play for him that day. But he was far from great. But DJ Moore with the clutch touchdown catch to really put him up ahead and ultimately win them the game. It was one of those games and one of those pictures where it was tough for me at first, but I trusted my gut that if I'm going to pick a team to basically really kind of pull it out, it was going to be Chicago, because they're the team that's been consistent all season long, even though it's been like cardiac cats of coming up from behind. Whereas the Packers, they've been sort of teetering downhill. And honestly, they really haven't been the same since they lost Micah Parsons. So, yeah. And also, too, I got to point this out. And this will be the last thing, we can move on. Ben Johnson really reinvigorated and instilled the Bears-Packers rivalry.
Yep.
I loved it, man. I don't even care about the outcry on social media that how, oh man, he was unprofessional. He should have shook this guy's hand and be like, man, shut up, man. This is what sports is all about. You got your most hated rival, the longest rivalry in all of football, the Bears versus the Packers, man. I don't care. I do not care. I'm here for that. This was amazing altogether, because what people don't want to talk about is Matt LaFleur kind of did the same thing when they beat the Bears before. So, you know, you got to be able to take the shit that you give as well too. So, man, I think I was very happy that I picked the Bears in this one. I was close to picking Green Bay, but I had to get off of that historical precedent of sheer dominance that they had over the Bears over the years, and I just had to go off of what my football eyes has been telling me, man. And Chicago earned it. They did.
Yeah, you know, one thing I loved about one thing that Ben Johnson said, and the reason why he did what he did is because he hates the Packers. He hates them. You know, it is what it is. It's sports. You know, there's teams and there's players that I hate as well. You know, it is what it is. So, but anyways, then we have another barn burner, another great game. The Bills versus the Jaguars. The Bills come out ahead 27-24. You know what? I've been starting all this stuff off. Justin, what'd you think, man? What did you think of this Bills and Jags game?
Yeah, bro. We had our boy John out on here last week, and he was an obvious diehard Jacksonville Jaguar, Duval County fan. And you know what? All three of us picked the Jags in this game. But I even said last week, I'm nervous betting against Josh Allen in the playoffs. I really am. But I also went with the Jags for the reason because I just thought that if there was any team that can stop the Bills from making a deep playoff run, the Jags should have been well equipped to do it, because that team is pretty much good all the way around. And historically speaking, the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen have struggled against teams that are very complete from top to bottom. And and they're on the road in this. But I thought that the X factor in this game, yes, we can point out Josh Allen, but it was really Trevor Lawrence. He made costly errors at the wrong times. You had an opportunity to go down the field and win the game. You did it before on the previous two drives, but that was more so that they had established a running game and they would just run the ball down their throats with Bashal Tutin and Travis Etienne. They done a hell of a job. But Buffalo, man, they got past this team, and I think that you really should peg them to be the favorites to come out of the AFC, and Josh Allen can make his first Super Bowl appearance and possibly win it all. The time is now for the Bills. I got to give my credit to Josh Allen, man. He really put the team on his back in the fourth quarter in the end, bro. Yeah, he really ran like a human buffalo, and I've always called him that because he fits that mentality of, dude, he's just going to do whatever he can to stampede into the end zone. And he did it on a 10-yard tush push that damn near got him in the end zone. That was insane. Right. That was insane. But, yeah, they had to earn this one on the road. And I didn't even realize that it was the Buffalo Bills' first road win in the playoffs. Oh. You would think that with all the playoff wins that Josh Allen and Sean McDermott have already encapsulated, that they probably would have already accomplished that feat by now. But no, that just shows you that how often they never had to really play on the road unless it was at Kansas City. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good game. Trevor Lawrence made some mistakes. He had 2 interceptions that game, I believe it was. That final one to really seal the deal. It just seemed like, the Jacksonville just didn't capitalize when they should have. And you have Superman over there. Josh Allen is just Josh Allen. He is Superman. I think he threw for over 200 yards. He had like 40 or 50 yards on the ground. You saw him with that, that, I don't know, rugby scrub, tush push, whatever the hell it was, for 10 yards. Josh Allen just steps up, and he really proved it that the Bills, the Bills definitely were not a one and done team this time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But anyways, let's get on to the next one. We got the 49ers and the I want to cuss right now, and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh boy.
Great game. 23-19. The 49ers win it. And all I got to say is this: the Eagles have disappointed me all freaking season long. Pick them to win, they lose. And we picked them to win, and they lose. So this put Justin and I at 2-2 for this 6-game wild card. The Eagles' offense is it's been stale all year long. And let's not forget that defense that I expected to actually do something last weekend. The defense just, come on in, guys. And I know that that the Eagles fired their offensive coordinator, but the 49ers did what they needed to do to win this game to wrap this up, and they're heading into Seattle this weekend. Justin, what's your disappointing thoughts on this game?
Yeah, the story is about the Eagles. They never should have been in the playoffs to begin with. They never should have won a division. I feel like that the reason why they won a division because the rest of the division around deteriorated. Mm-hmm. They were absent on offense all year long, and they showed up in the playoffs. I thought that they were going to be one of those teams that was going to show that championship DNA. They just won the Super Bowl last year. They were in the Super Bowl a couple of years prior to that. And I just thought that they were going to be ready for the moment to be like, all right, let's put all the bullshit aside. Let's go in and make a playoff run.
Right.
May not get to the Super Bowl, but we at least want to get past round one, being that this is a home playoff game. But the reality is, man, they made stupid decisions, coaching decisions, and personnel decisions all season long. The final game against the Commanders, they had a chance to play all of their starters and actually go out there and win that game. Because if they would have won that game, they would have avoided this very same 49ers team that just put them out. Instead, they would have been able to see the Green Bay Packers instead, which they've also had their number. The 49ers, on the other hand, I think it's a one great coaching job by Kyle Shanahan to get them to this point. Right. I don't know if I'm ready to believe in them to be able to go in the sin past even the divisional round, which we'll preview in upcoming. But I'm not really sold on them to make even more of a deeper playoff run. But it's been one hell of an accomplishment so far, although I do see that they're going to be getting Fred Warner back at practice now. So, hey, watch out. But I think that mainly the story and the takeaway that I have from this is, man, how disappointing was Philadelphia. And I learned hard lessons betting them to win games. And look like it's Austin Art's not even in the comment section today, because I am sure he would have heard all of our criticisms on the live stream today. But if he does end up listening on the playback, dude, your Eagles suck. Okay? Sorry. Just going to call it like that. Calling it what it is.
Yeah, I actually gave him hell that night, and I was like, your Eagles are trash. I pick them to win, they lose. Here they go again. Same story, just different freaking day. And I gave him shit about it. And, of course, he was like, oh, the offensive coordinator needs fired and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, okay, well, they still suck.
Right.
But anyways, next one up. It wasn't really a great game, but it was 16-3. Patriots over the Chargers. My boy Donald is not in the chat. I don't see him.
No, he is not.
I wouldn't be coming in either. I'd be coming in like this, hiding, because we told him the Chargers, they do nothing in the playoffs. Justin Herbert does nothing. I don't want to hear no more comparison about Herbert's better than Joe Burrow. Period. I know this isn't a Bengals show, but Joe Burrow is him. Justin Herbert, go sit down on the couch, go to Cancun, whatever. You ain't that good. You've been going to the playoffs and pissing the bed every single year, just like our next matchup that we're about to review as well. But it was a disappointing game by the Chargers. The Patriots, they handled business. I know it was only 16-3 win, but they handled business. They stepped up to the plate. And really, I won't say surprised me, because they were going up against the Chargers, but they won this game. Justin, what do you got to say about this Chargers and Patriots game?
The Patriots would have lost this game if they would have had to see a more seasoned veteran team and a quarterback that knows how to win playoff games. Like if the Bills and Patriots would have met round 3 in the playoffs, I truly believe that the Patriots would have lost. If the Patriots would have had to see the Bengals and Joe Burrow cracked his way in there, the Patriots would have lost. If the Chiefs were in this spot, the Patriots would have lost. But you're seeing an inexperienced Chargers team And well, they've been in the playoffs a few times now at this point, but basically they're still inexperienced because they just haven't been able to win the game. And Justin Herbert just plays really bad in the postseason, and we need to start having these conversations. We're already hearing so much about, well, Lamar Jackson and his playoff record sucks. At least Lamar won a couple of playoff games, a few actually. At least he's made it to conference championship game. So Justin Herbert can't even get round one. Yeah, let alone he can't even be productive in round one. It would have been one thing had this game would have went back and forth, and both the quarterbacks were putting up gaudy stats against two pretty good defenses, and the Chargers end up losing the game, like kind of how the Bills and Jags game went. I understand I already criticized a little bit of Trevor Lawrence for throwing that pick in the end, but Trevor Lawrence still had a fine game. If Justin Herbert would have had somewhat of a performance like that, you wouldn't really hear that much criticism other than, well, he's now 0-3 in the playoffs. Dude, Drake May outperformed you, and even Drake May was bad. I didn't think Drake May was all that good. The Chargers defense stepped up, and they held them. They held their own. There was plenty of opportunity to go on the road and steal a playoff win here in this time, but you didn't. So with that being said, the Patriots, Mike Vrabel, they move on. They be able to kind of see and get home field advantage for yet another week and see where they end up. Chargers, you got some thinking to do, because I don't really think it's a Jim Harbaugh issue. I think that he has installed a toughness aura to this team. That defense is still pretty good. I don't want to hear the excuses about, oh, well, look at the O-line that was blocking for Justin Herbert. Man, shut up with all of that, bro. Because y'all wasn't given the same grace when Joe Burrow was in the playoffs and then having to take street free agents and freaking rec center employees to the Super Bowl. Nobody was giving us grace when we lost those playoff games and whatnot. So I don't want to hear it this time around. You're just not built for this moment if you're a Chargers fan. So, yeah, I'm with you. Do not ever put Justin Herbert in the same sentence as Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes ever again. I don't care that he swept the Chiefs this year. Don't care. Because at the end of the day, you're not that dude. You're still a fringe elite quarterback. You have elite caliber type of abilities, but you're not an elite quarterback.
Yep. Amen. All right. Next one up, and definitely not least. Well, it was least. I'll take that back. Texans rolled into Pittsburgh and straight whooped that ass, 30-6. We called it. We knew it was going to happen. That defense is just stellar. Like I always, like everybody says, defenses win championships. And that Texas defense are nothing but a bunch of bullies, and they made the Steelers that offense look even worse than what it is. You get 3 turnovers in the first half, and all you get is 6 points. 6 points. We all knew that the Steelers' offense was shit. They continue to be. They showed up even shittier on Monday Night Football against the Texans in the playoffs. And once again, Mike Tomlin gets another L, the first appearance in the first round of the playoffs with an L. Justin, man, what do you got to say?
Yeah, I'm not going to go too long-winded about this because at the end of the day, we already know what the Steelers were. They weren't a team that just were ready to make a deep playoff run at all, period. Even if they were to luckily somehow sneak and get past the playoffs, get past the Texans in the first round of the playoffs, did you really believe that they were going to make a deep playoff run and go to the Super Bowl? Hell no. Nah. That was probably going to be the best that they were ever going to do. But they couldn't even get this point. It just shows you, man, the playoffs just really reveals what you are always flawed. And this is a flawed team that had hardly no offense. Their defense struggled. Their run game really struggled. But the first few quarters made me think they can actually steal this one here. Their defense was playing better. CJ Stroud was just not looking good. He made some clutch third down deep passes here and there. But the Steelers were winning the turnover differential battle early in this game, and it made you think that, like, if they just hang around to the end, maybe Mike Tomlin can get away with having those one Mike Tomlin-style Pittsburgh Steelers wins to where they get out in front in like 9-7, and now that's going to make a Texans offense that was eroding all game long really turn the ball over again, because now that Steelers crowd, that renegade crowd, was going to be anteed up. And you know what happens when you face in that environment. You got a strip sack fumble picked up by TJ Watt, game is over. It
Right.
felt like that it could have gone that direction, but it didn't. And I think that the real story that nobody's really talking about, because Mike Tomlin is getting all of the shots fired his way and basically led to him stepping down as the coach for the Steelers, is Aaron Rodgers really needs to contemplate retirement. He
Mm-hmm.
was awful. He was flat out
Bro.
awful. And
Yep.
DK Metcalf is not a guy that you should have invested all that money in to be your number one wide receiver for this team. I
Yep.
understand he has a big body possession kind of receiver that he can make some plays over the top here and there, but this dude is not it. He's not a true number one like I thought he was back
Right.
during the Seattle Seahawks days. And I feel like that Aaron Rodgers really set this team up to lose this game 30-6. His strip sack fumble that was picked up by Sheldon Rankins went for a touchdown. He threw the pick six that really should never have been a pick to begin with. He threw that straight to the secondary to the defender. I think it was Jalen Peacher or whatever. I don't even remember who it was, honestly. But he run it back for a pick six. But that first one that went for a fumble recovery for a touchdown that made it ultimately basically 17-6. That's basically what lost them the game right there, because they had no answers. They had no ability to run the ball or to throw the ball on offense whatsoever
Right.
at all. They couldn't even get in field goal range half the time. That's a shame. That was embarrassing. And the Texans, I think that you can make an argument within the last 10 years that this can be one of the best defense that you have ever seen within the last 10-year stretch. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that they're the 2015 Denver Broncos, the no-fly zone. I'm not saying that they're the Legion of Boom Seattle Seahawks or the 2000
Right.
Ravens or the '08 Steelers, but this defense is downright scary. And they have really added a lot of pieces through the draft, through some supplemental free agencies, to some existing guys that was always thought highly of. And man, it's one of those seasons where it just kind of culminated together. If you're a Bengals fan that is really idolizing the defense of that caliber, just know that it's going to take a lot to make a defense like that happen. You got to have the right stars aligned, and don't even try to aim for that. But at the end of the day, man, this Texans defense is going to be the team that's going to carry this team through the playoffs. Not really CJ Stroud, even though they did look fine, but it just showed you that CJ Stroud can play like shit for 3 quarters, turn the ball over, but their defense is going to carry. They're going to carry them. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree. You know, everything you said. It's just the stars did not align up for the Steelers. You know, that voodoo magic did not appear during this game, and
Mm-hmm.
you know we really absolutely got to see the true colors of the Steelers versus the Texans. And that Texans defense, like I said, they're just bullies. They're gonna. I wish them the best. But anyways, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we'll get right back into it with our previews to the 4 division games. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Running Through the Jungle's divisional playoff preview and our pick'em show. Well, Justin, here we are.
We made it.
The divisional.
Let's go.
Let's
go. Who we got first? Who's up first?
We got first is the Bills versus the Broncos.
45 Broncos.
Yeah, 45.5 over under. It's a 1.5 point game. Justin, what you got, man?
Oh boy, this line has moved a couple of times. It started off opening up with the Bills being a 1.5 point favorites on the road at Denver, and then they moved now to Denver being the favorites at home. I don't even care. I'm throwing the line out. This is really a coin flip game. Broncos defense has been. I don't think that they're right there with the Houston Texans, but they're pretty damn close. Like they're like on the same level as New England, because New England has a pretty good defense. But I think that we had pegged this defense to be the number 1 ranked defense all season long, and that Houston really just kind of passed them up. That's how I feel about the Broncos defense. Bo Nix, he's been fine. He's been productive. I think he shows. I think he can show up in the big moment. But am I willing to bet on him? Probably not. But at the end of the day, I think that the story more for the Broncos is how great of a coach Sean Payton is, and can he coach this team and will them to a win here at home in the divisional round here. But I think, man, I got to go with the Buffalo Bills. For me, it's the Bills' time. It's finally going to probably be their time. Now, I will not be surprised if they were to lose this game because it is tough going on the road in the playoffs at that. In the different environments, high-stakes environments, it's tough going on the road playoff and win. But I think that the Bills are has the best quarterback remaining in the NFL playoffs. And I think that the Bills have the best opportunity on the AFC side to outlast anybody that comes their way. I think that the one team that had an opportunity to take them out was Jacksonville because I feel like that their roster was more complete. I already mentioned that in the wild card review.
Right.
I think the Texans defense, if they were to meet them in the AFC Championship game, the Bills, Josh Allen is probably good enough to make a defense tilt and make them think that they should rush the passer, but they really are going to like shoot the gap and he's going to basically in the AFC Championship game. I do not believe that the Patriots will have what it takes to beat the Bills twice this year when the Bills are more experienced in this spot than they are. And I'm not talking about the Tom Brady-led Patriots because we know the Patriots historically under Brady and Belichick are experienced. Mike Vrabel's great. But I think Buffalo, it's their time. And that's kind of where I'm going with this game here. The Bills is going to beat the Broncos. Probably another close game, like a field goal type of game. Do I feel confident in it? Not maybe the most confident in, but it's one that I feel pretty good about. I just don't want to bet against Josh Allen no more. I learned my lesson last week, and I'm not doing it again this week.
Yeah, this game it's a close one.
Josh. I'm just saying, I respect him.
You just respect, and we all respect him. He's a great quarterback. If we want to look at, if we want to look at who's on the field, Josh Allen's probably the best player in the offense on the offensive side. Well, he is the best offensive player on the offensive side of the ball. I'm talking about compared to the Bills versus the Broncos. But the Broncos do have PS2 over there, Patrick Surtain II. He is over there. He's he was hell of a defensive player last year. I'm sure he's on that same caliber this year. I really haven't looked up his stats, but to be honest with you, Broncos do have a better defense. The Broncos have a better defense than the Bills do. Honestly, the Broncos have kind of fell back a little bit, but I think that's because of the performance by the offense. The offense, the last couple, I've been saying this our whole time during this preview show is Bo Nix and that offense has not been. They've been okay. I won't say they've been bad, but they've been okay. They've done enough to where they can get the job done and win these football games when they need to win them. And of course, the Broncos defense steps up and secures and helps them secure that win. But what happens when your offense is 3 and out? They start getting tired, and that's one thing that they cannot do against the Bills. They cannot be going 3 and out, and just keeping their defense on the field the whole time, because I think the Broncos are just going to get tired, and then the Bills are just going to win the game. Right. I agree with you, Justin. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a 3-point game. I think it's going to be another one of those great games.
Yeah, I agree.
And unfortunately, I do agree. I think the Jags were the best team to beat the Bills. The Broncos just. I don't know if they have what it takes to get this done on Saturday versus the Bills. Sean Payton's a great coach. The Bills are just, Josh Allen is Superman. He's Superman. I don't care what anybody says. He is Superman. He will either burn you with his legs or he'll burn you in the air. Bo Nix, he might get you with his legs. And he might throw some complete passes here and there. Of course, he's going to throw complete passes. He's a quarterback, and he's not a bad quarterback. I know a lot of haters out there don't like Bo Nix, but I think Bo Nix has got a promising career ahead of him. But this year is not the year. I think the Bills take this game over the Broncos. So both of us are going to take the Bills over the Broncos. I just think that there's more experience on that field on the Bills side of the ball. There's just more experience on that side. And let's not forget, Joey Bosa is still playing pretty damn good football. So, Bo Nix is going to have a little bit to worry about too with the pressure from Joey Bosa. So, but yeah. Taking the Bills over the Broncos.
And I'll add one last thing before we move on to the next game. I'll say this. During the regular season, when these two teams meet up, the Broncos head from top to bottom are actually the better team, with the outlier being Josh Allen, of course. James Cook as well too. Right. The Bills' defense has gotten better as the season went on, so that's another underrated factor of this game here.
Yeah,
I would say that for the Broncos, it's the right opponent, but you're going against them at the wrong time. That's all it is. It's the playoffs. The Bills understand how to win these games. The pressure is on them, like immensely on them, with no Patrick Mahomes, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. The pressure is on Buffalo that they have to get to the Super Bowl now. The Broncos ain't got to deal with that pressure. So this is going to mean more for the Bills. And that's why I say for the Broncos, if it was, like I said, week 14, I can actually see the Broncos winning this game.
Yeah,
because I think they have an overall better roster. And they play better coaching style football. And that's why I think that they match up well against Buffalo. Because Broncos do have a good defense to basically knock Josh Allen and them off his spot. They do. But in the playoffs, though, that's why I said it's the wrong time. Just in the wrong time.
Yeah, I agree. Next one up, we have the 12-5 49ers coming into Seattle. 45.5 over under to 7-point spread. It's the biggest spread of any of these games. You know what, Justin? It's going to be 50 degrees. It's going to be like 52 degrees and no rain on Saturday. So it's going to be some nice weather up in Seattle. You're still probably going to get a little bit of, chilliness in the air. But Justin, who are you taking? You taking the 49ers or the Seahawks?
Seahawks win, 49ers cover. I don't like that 7-point spread. I think that the 49ers are good enough to be able to move the ball on any defense, regardless of their losses that they sustained throughout the roster. Chris McCaffrey, he's back. He's excellent. He shows that while he was the offensive player of the year 2 years ago. And Brock Purdy, he's been efficient. I'm sure that there's the opportunity that he'll throw a couple of turnovers here in this game. But I think another opportunity for the Seahawks is Sam Darnold might be seeing ghosts in this game too, going against a much more improved 49ers team that has finally gelled together with their injuries and losses. And they may feel that rejuvenated spirit with Fred Warner coming back in the fold here. I don't know if he's going to actually officially play, but he's back at practice now.
But okay. he's actually out.
Oh, he's actually out? Okay.
Yeah, he's actually out.
But just his sheer presence alone, man, can be enough to help the 49ers get over the hump if they want to feel like that they have the ability to it. But I sadly believe that the 49ers season to come to an end here because I just think the Seattle Seahawks are just that good. I just don't think that there is any team in this particular round of the playoff that was equipped to come on the road in their hostile environment to win this game. And I know I mentioned early on, I have some concerns of Sam Darnold potentially seeing ghosts in this game and throwing like 3 or 4 picks. Remember, last year we saw him win 14 games for the Vikings and threw a shit ton of picks in the playoffs against the Rams.
Yeah.
I'm fearful that could happen again, but I don't think that he's going against the Rams secondary in this round for me to believe that that's going to happen. So I'd rather just go with the comforting choice and pick that, you know what, Seahawks, Mike McDonald, bro, these boys are ready to put it on it. Like I said, I still think the 49ers are productive enough to cover this game, to cover the spread, to make it a good win. To make it a good game. But Seahawks come on top with a win. I say it probably like a 4 or 5 point game here.
Yeah. So that's something that you and I are not agreeing on. I think the Seahawks actually cover the spread and beat them by, I'm gonna say 10 points. The way the Seahawks played them week 18, That Seahawks defense is the second in the league. I don't care what anybody says. They're a hell of a good defense. You know, you can't call them the Legion of Boom 2.0. I don't know what. I'm not sure what you can call them, but
Yeah,
you know,
they don't need that. They don't need that nickname right now. They have
no,
to carve out their own identity, because if
but
you really, because I mean, you know better than me, Tim, since you out there. If I'm not mistaken, the Legion of Boom, they had like 4 Pro Bowlers on that in that secondary. And
yeah,
when it comes to the Seahawks secondary, I think the best you can probably come up with is only just Nick Emanwari and maybe Devon Witherspoon, and that's it. They're just a great defensive unit, but they're not the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, you know, but their defense is actually playing really well. On week 18 versus the 49ers, that Seahawks defense bullied the shit out of the 49ers. They bullied the hell out of them. You know, the 49ers were coming off that win versus the Bears. And, you know, after that, the Seahawks just you know, really put Brock Purdy in his place, really put CMC in his place. You know, their defense really didn't step up. And all the Seahawks had to do was manage time, stay in front of the sticks, and run the football. That's all they had to do. You know, and I think that's what the Seahawks need to do in this game. They need to stay in front of the sticks. They need to control the clock, put pressure, make them go 3 and out early and often, as much as they can, and the Seahawks win this game. And I might be a little bit biased because I am in Seattle and my family are all Seahawks fans and all that stuff. And you know, and I root for them when they're not playing against the Bengals, of course. As you see, I got my Jimmy Graham jersey on. But, you know, I just don't think the 49ers don't have the weapons on defense, first of all. You know, they're missing Fred Warner. They're missing Nick Bosa as well. You know, those are 2 main guys. Fred Warner is a havoc when it comes to that Mike linebacker position. He is the captain on the field. They don't have him back. You know, Brock Purdy, he's still a good quarterback, even though he was Mr. Irrelevant. He's still a good quarterback. He's had some great games, but I just don't see them having what it takes to beat Seattle in Seattle. But so I'm taking the Seahawks. Next one up, and yes, pay the Seahawks. And you and I actually picked the Seahawks on your bet slip. So anyways, next one up. The Texans versus the Patriots in New England. It's a 40.5 over under 3-point game. Justin, who you taking? You gonna take the bully Texans defense, or are you gonna take that young offense, that Patriots, you know, that Patriots team to win it all? He's speechless.
I think I like the Texans here. Give me the Texans on the road pulling off the upset win at New England. I'm sorry. I'm not really superly impressed with the New England Patriots. I feel like that there's been way too much Drake May Glazen talk, and he's been fine. He's been good. He's been really good in his second year in the NFL. But man, I can still see some young mental errors on his part, being a second-year quarterback. And those warts tend to show up in the playoffs. And it did show up last week against the Chargers. You know, you had timely turnovers, fumbles that was recovered by the defense, throwing picks here and there and whatnot. Yes, you ultimately made the play that threw the touchdown pass in the end to get you out in front and basically just sealed the fate and the death knell of the Chargers. But this is not the Chargers we're talking about. Yes, I do have concerns of C.J. Stroud, you know, looking like shit again like last week. But last week, I think, was more about the Steelers on defense on the road. I mean, in their home stadium, it's tough playing Pittsburgh in their house. It's really tough. We know this as AFC North fans already. So the Texans trying to accomplish that feat of just playing perfect football in that environment on Monday night. And here's another underrated factor that you got to be a little bit impressed with. Pittsburgh never loses on Monday night. You heard the record all week long. Oh, they're 23-0, won 23 straight games on Monday Night Football. And it was so deja vu that they put them on that Monday night slate of games to really kind of produce some good karma their way. And it almost worked, but the Texans was just mentally tough enough to be able to handle and withstand all of the stuff that even through the backbreaking turnovers that CJ Stroud had. I don't think they were that bad. I think that those are turnovers that, you know what, it sucks that it happens, but you live with it. I don't think that you're going to get bad version of CJ Stroud like last week, but I think this week that he really takes it up a notch here. And they got to prove that they can get past the divisional round. The Texans have won 3 straight playoff games since CJ Stroud has came in the league, and they have not made it farther than a divisional round. This is their opportunity, their golden opportunity to punch their ticket to the AFC Championship game. And their defense, like I said, this is the unit that's going to lead them to it. I just don't think that Drake May is going to be that good to be able to overcome this unit's defense. So, yeah, give me the Texans, man, on a roll win upset.
Yeah, so I guess this is what my concern is they're saying it's going to be in the 20s or 30s in New England, possible snow. Does the Patriots and do the Texans have what it takes to run the ball? Like, you know, Stevenson's been running the ball really well for the Patriots, and so has Travion Henderson. You know, you got Marks, who's probably going to be taking up most of the carries for the Texans. You know, it's going to be cold. There's another cold game. And I know usually I don't like to really always put weather in factor here, but it's going to be tricky for those guys to be throwing that football when it's 20, 30 degrees, possible snow. It's hard to throw the football, you know, unless you're, you know, Joe Burr and you're just throwing the rock when it's snowing outside. But anyways, I'm sorry, get off the point. You know, they're still facing the Texans. This is the best defense that the Patriots have faced all year long. As I said earlier, defenses win championships. I know Vrabel has came in to New England. He's done a great job with that Patriots offense and the defense, and he's made it turn around. He, you know, possible coach of the year candidate, but unfortunately, I think the Texans defense still steps up and makes Drake May just look confused, not sure what to do because of his inexperience. We've seen what happened last week when they played against the Chargers. Chargers have a pretty good defense, but the Texans have a pretty damn good defense. So I'm taking the Texans over the Patriots. Next one up, the Rams versus the Bears. Let's see here. Sorry, there we go. It's a 48.5 over under 4.5 point game or 4.5 point spread. Rams are coming into chilly Chicago, Justin. Do you think Matt Stafford, possible MVP, and the Rams have what it takes to beat the Chicago Bears in Soldier Field when it's going to be cold, windy? What you got?
Absolutely, man. You forget Matt Stafford played 12 years in Detroit, and often he saw the Bears in the same inclement climate weather during those 12 seasons he played in Detroit. Weather ain't going to be a factor. And the Rams are one of those teams to where Sean McVay knows how to get his team prepared for elements like that. This has been a fun storybook for the Chicago Bears. But I think that they're not good enough, in my opinion, to get past the Rams in this spot. Yes, even though I know that they're home team. The Rams are not the Green Bay Packers. The Rams' high point of the year that they can be able to point to after they do a season in review and all the fans, they can just point at, look, we beat the Green Bay Packers, our most hated rival in the wild card, and in the next round, we go home. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that the Rams are good enough from offense to defense. Yes, Matt Stafford is still prone to make mistakes. Absolutely. This Bears defense can still get turnovers and opportunistic times that can change the swing and the momentum of the game. But I do expect this to be a close game. And I think that when it's a close game, although I know and I appreciate and I respect what the Bears have done all season long of coming from behind and winning these games, I think at the end of the day, I think I would like to have Matt Stafford over Caleb Williams in this spot. But I think that it's been one hell of a season for the Bears. And they may prove me wrong and win this game. And I will tip my cap to them on that. And I'll come on this show next week and say, man, y'all proved me wrong. Man, that's what's up. I'll do all of that. I ain't scared to do all of that or say all of that. But I think that this is more about the Rams really cementing Matt Stafford's legacy and getting them into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, winning that MVP crown, because it's going to be rightfully deserved. And, man, the Bears are a great opponent to try to get that sort of extra hardware under your belt to cement that you've really earned this. So, and the Bears are a great team. They've had a hell of a season. And I think that the Rams show that they are also a division winner caliber team too, that just happened to be a wild card team in the playoffs.
Yeah, my biggest concern is that the Bears don't show up until the fourth quarter. That's what we've been seeing. The Bears haven't been showing up until the fourth quarter. I'm afraid that the Rams are just going to keep scoring and scoring throughout the first to third quarter, and the Bears might not have what it takes to come back from this win or from this loss and win the game. But like I said, it's going to be cold. It's going to be windy in Chicago. They don't call it the Windy City for no damn reason. As we know, if you watched Pay Dirt on Wednesday with Pay and I brought up the whole thing of when Brady dissected the throwing of the football. When it's and if they don't throw the football correctly, when it's windy out, you're going to be having the ball flying everywhere or whatever. The ball's also going to be cold as hell. So I think these two teams are going to lean on the run. I really do. But it's football, so I'm sure we're going to be throwing some passes and everything too. But Justin, this is a game that you and I don't agree upon.
Hey, let's do it.
And there's a reason behind this. I know you said Matt Stafford played in Detroit for 12 years. But he played in Detroit under a roof, indoors. And how many years has he been with the Rams? Been playing indoors in sunny California. Ooh, nice and warm. I don't know, man. I just feel like with the way the way that the Bears have been playing football throughout this whole season. At one time, they were leading the league in turnovers. That defense was. I know they had some unfortunate injuries and stuff like that happen to the defense. But last week we seen what they did versus the Packers. And I know it's a divisional. That was a divisional game. Even though it was a wild card game, it was a divisional game because it was versus the Packers, and they handled business in the end to win that football game. But I'm taking the Bears over the Rams, and I'm betting this. I'm gonna go bet this game tonight in the casino and put my money on the Bears because I believe the Bears are gonna win this game and cover and also take and win more than points. So I'm taking the points and the Bears to win this game. Okay. I'm just doing it. I'm doing it.
All right.
I'm doing it. I'm taking this game.
All right. Here's another factor that I didn't even bring up because I know the focus is always be on quarterbacks and stuff. That's just when the game gets close and it's time to make a play to win it.
Yeah.
I like what Caleb Williams and all that stuff, but let me take the quarterback element out of it. The Bears do not have a great pass rush to even get after Matt Stafford like that for real. But true. I do like the Rams defensive line with Jared Verse and Brian Young. And a whole slew of other mix of young developing guys that's entering their prime, like the Braden Fisk of the world and stuff. That's who I think is the real big key to the game here. Can you neutralize the efforts from the Bears on the ground? Stopping what's his name? Monangai is probably going to be tough for most teams, but I think that the Rams have a D-line that's equipped to do it. Caleb Williams, he does make out of structure plays. but I also think that the pass rush and they can do such a caging effort to where it's going to force Caleb Williams to be able to make plays and throws from the pocket. And they have a collapse in secondary that can force those incomplete passes. Now, when it comes to the wide receivers, I think that the Bears wide receivers can make plays on these corners. I really like Luther Burden. I'm not even going to mention Roma Dunze because he did struggle a little bit playing against Green Bay, even though he made the clutch catch or whatever on fourth down, as I mentioned before. But I just don't like him yet, and I don't want to keep mentioning him in name only as a weapon. I think that Luther Burden and DJ Moore, and also the emergence of Colston Loveland, who's arrived.
Yeah.
Dude, you're going to have your opportunities to make some plays on this Rams secondary if you can hold up with protecting Caleb Williams, which their offensive line has gotten better. Joe Tooney, he's made the Pro Bowl, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a right tackle that's a Pro Bowl as well, too. But nonetheless, man, I still feel like that the Rams D-line is really going to be the X factor, because if their D-line can get after it, it's going to be a long day for the Bears. It really is. And the other side of the coin, I don't think that the Bears are equipped to rush the pass. They're going to have to send the house and send the blitz more so than not. It was very frustrating watching the Bears in the fourth quarter when the game was kind of closing out and becoming over, that they were letting Jordan Love have all kinds of time. And that was getting annoying. Like, bro, tackle him, sack him, do something. They did a good job on Josh Jacobs. Like I said, in the second half, they turned into the 85 Bears. But I don't know if you're going to be able to keep up with doing that 2 times in a row against a team that I feel like is better and more experienced in the playoffs as well, too. I mean, so
and I agree with
you, man. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. We're both splitting the difference here.
Yeah, and I agree with you on your points. The Rams do have a good they have a good defense, but I guess my major concern is Matt Stafford, he does have a right hand finger issue on his throwing hand. He hit his hand during that game last week, and he's on the injury report again. And I know Matt Stafford's going to go out there and play football. I know he is, but it's going to be cold. I don't care what anybody says. That cold weather is going to affect throwing the football, and it's going to affect his hand and that finger. I don't care what anybody says, unless he's got superpowers and he healed up and he's good to go, whatever. Okay, great. But for some reason, I just have this feeling, and I'm not going to mention anything else besides I'm taking the Bears over the Rams. This is one game that Justin and I are not agree upon. So we'll see. We'll see who's right and who's wrong. I've been kind of leaning on the Bears for the last half of the season, picking them to win these games, and they've been doing they've been winning football games. Look at them. They're in the divisional playoffs versus the Rams. But anyways,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Great show as always, Justin. Thank you everybody for watching and for listening. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you share with your friends. And don't forget, we're not just a Cincinnati Bengals podcast. We're also, I'm going to try to keep this going. Oh, well, not try. I'm going to keep this going next year as well. I'm going to do our NFL Pick'em show next year as well. But come check us out next week as we review these games, and then we review the AFC and NFC championship games. Good luck to your teams. I know some of you guys are Steelers fans, some of you guys are Bengals fans. We're on the couch in Cancun, so but we're getting to enjoy these playoff games. But Justin, before we wrap this up, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, playoff football is my favorite time of year. So based off of our picks, we are going to see either the Bills and Texans in the AFC Championship game, which that can be a really fun matchup, and a rematch too from earlier in the season.
Right.
And on the landscape of the NFC side is either going to be the Seahawks Rams or Seahawks Bears, based on how the picks go for us.
Yeah.
Upsets are bound to happen. There may be an opportunity where an upset is going to happen that you and I did not see coming, and that can be either the Bills lose to the Broncos or the 49ers lose or beat the Seahawks. Those are the only other two that we can really see coming. Other than that, again, this is what playoff football is made for. So this is why it's my favorite time of year. But yeah, those are really my closing thoughts. I had a good time, as always, on the show, giving the breakdowns and analysis of each team. And yeah, good luck to all those whose teams are still in the tournament. By the way, we can only hope and wish that we'll get back there as Bengals fans. But at the end of the day, I'm enjoying football and watching it in pure comfort and without the stress.
Yeah, well, everybody, again, thank you guys for watching. I'm just going to be really quick. We don't know what's going on with Running Through the Jungle next week because we really have nothing going on. You know, we're not in the playoffs unless something comes down, you know, from up above and you know, some news comes on. You might not see a Running Through the Jungle show next week. Who knows? But make sure you come back next week on our NFL Pick'em show. It'll be the AFC and NFC or the NFC Championship Series. We'll get to review these games. We appreciate you guys as always. Have a great weekend. Hoo day.